Hello and welcome. So Maria McMahon here with you. And today I'm going to be asking the question, how do you handle judgmental people when you go back to a narcissist? And the reason I'm asking this is because I have a lot of people, men and women in my groups who've kind of shared with me how difficult it is for them because you go back time and time again. Now, the average is actually 7 times before people finally say, you know, enough is enough. But I've actually known people who've gone back over 30 times, just yo-yoing back and forth. Now, even though they knew that going back would just keep on breaking their hearts, the compulsion to go back was irresistible. And even when they knew that within as little as a couple of days, the agony and abuse would start all over again, they still went back. And they don't understand. Even this morning, just before I started preparing to record this, I had a private message from a guy who said, I don't understand this. Why do I feel so compelled to go back to her? But there is a reason why this happens. And if you haven't heard about it, then you absolutely need to know about it. And it's called trauma bonding. So trauma bonding, I'm going to go into that in a few more minutes. But before I do, what I want to say is before people finally know that they must leave for good and they must go no contact, they have this issue to deal with. Before they understand the trauma bonding, they understand how they're going to break that bond and be free once and for all. Before all that, they may find themselves that every time they go back, they may find that every time they do go back, before they reach that pivotal point of saying enough is enough, they're subjected to more aggravation and misunderstanding from family and friends who often tell them outright how stupid they are or how they're to blame or that they're asking for it, or worse, and I've heard this, that they're actually enjoying all the drama. And I've had clients share all of these different kinds of scenarios with me. Often, though, what also can happen is that your family and friends might be very supportive to start with, and they offer sympathy and support, but then they get totally fed up with you when you go back, especially if it happens more than once. And you end up, as one of my clients put it, totally burning your bridges because they think, well, you've gone back, it's your own fault, and all those things I've just said. And unfortunately, people can be very quick to do this. And what they fail to understand is that you can't measure other people's lives with your own yardstick. So when people get upset and frustrated with you, the real problem is that they just do not understand narcissistic abuse. And honestly, you can't blame them for that, because until you became entangled with a narcissist, you probably didn't understand anything about it either. And if you're watching this video now and my other videos and tons of other videos on YouTube, you're trying to learn all about it. And that's you who've been exposed to it and have suffered with the abuse. But most of the people in your life haven't. So they have no benchmark. But what you have to also realize is that if someone is judging you harshly, they clearly have no idea what you've been through or are going through. They have no idea how complicated narcissistic abuse really is. So if they're unwilling to be educated about it or to try to learn to understand it a bit more, then maybe they're not the kind of person whose opinion really matters to you. Maybe you can decide that, well, their opinion is totally irrelevant to you. And that applies if it's a family member, because family members can be among the worst and most judgmental people of all. And that might be surprising to some people, but it's actually true. So what you have to keep your focus on is that only you know the pain that you've suffered. And even, as I said, even you are probably only just beginning to understand it yourself now. Narcissistic abuse is a very complex form of emotional, and it can often be physical and other ways, kind of abuse. And unless you're directly involved and suffering the consequences, or you're involved as a therapist, as I am, coming at it from a therapist point of view, you really have no idea, or rather the people in your life have no idea, how much damage a narcissist can inflict. So most people out there, they just don't get it. It's as simple as that. So, you know, even in my life, whenever I discuss what I do with people who don't know anything about narcissism, they just cannot believe what I'm saying. And they're pumping me in fascination to learn more about this very, very insidious form of abuse. Most of my family and friends know obviously what I do now, so I don't get it so much. But in the beginning, when I was first doing it, it was exhausting trying to, to educate people all around me that this really is a very, very serious thing. Now, if you've been with a narcissist, you'll know that narcissists destroy their targets, and that can be emotionally, psychologically, financially, and even physically. Physical abuse is quite common. They rip families apart. They turn children against the other parent. They lie convincingly to police and lawyers and judges and even therapists. And successfully, in most cases, they can actually fool these people with their fake charisma and charm. And they don't care how much they hurt their victim. They don't care how much they hurt their children. They'll use the children as pawns to meet their own ends and to get back at you, the parent who is being alienated, which is a huge, huge subject. And I'm going to start making some videos about parental alienation as soon as I can. The narcissist, I have said before, I think I have a meme out there about it, is they're like a runaway train that's going to annihilate everything in its past. But in spite of all this hurt and pain, something very, very complex happens that keeps the victim trapped and going back. And as I mentioned at the beginning, that something is trauma bonding. It's really important that you understand what it is and how you're going to help yourself to break the bond if it's applying to you. It's actually now a recognized condition, and it's one that keeps the victim going back to his or her abuser. And there's a lot of scientific research now into what's going on in the brain when trauma bonding occurs. And it is real. And the person suffering really struggles and often cannot break it alone. They need professional help, as their addiction to their abuser is akin to alcohol or drug addiction. Now, trauma bonding basically means that you are bonded to that person, because generally what they do is they give you lots of love and affection and positive reinforcement, then they take it away, then they make you feel good again. It comes from the Stockholm syndrome, and I have another video on trauma bonding. I will share that, and we'll bring that up next after this one, because in that I do share 9 tips to break the bond, so that will help you understand it more and also help you to start getting a much wider handle on what's going on for you if you're still in that cycle of going back, going back, going back. Now, in the case where you have the strength of will to stay away, and kudos for you if you can do that, and I know lots of people do, it is possible, you might still be very much eaten up inside with this agony of wanting to go back and be with that person. Just like, as I said, the alcoholic or the drug addict, they are trying to stay clean and sober. They are managing day by day, and days can run into weeks and months, but still that craving is there. They are desperate to get rid of that craving. Now, you can find yourself in exactly that same situation with trauma bonding. You can find that you're, not sleeping very well, that you're crying a lot. You can be so bad that you can barely get out of bed in the morning, or you can spiral into deep depression. And none of this, you or anyone around you might understand. So it's a really, really hellish place to be. So people who judge you for going back or tell you to just get over it and move on just don't understand. So you need to maybe cut them a little bit of slack in a way. And most people who are involved with narcissists are successfully hoovered back in, as I've said, an average of 9 times, and it can be way higher than that. Sorry, an average of 7 times, but it can be much more than that. I even know someone who's married the same. Actually, I know 2 people who joined my group, my women's group, married the same narcissist twice. And I'm actually going to do a separate short video about that, because that to some people is crazy, but it happens. And it actually goes to show just how manipulative, how those manipulation skills of a narcissist are superlative. And it's not that their victims are stupid or weak. And as I've mentioned, the parallel with alcoholism or drug addiction, it's like the alcoholic falling off the wagon, you know, or the drug addict leaving rehab and heading straight, you know, for his or her dealer. Unless and until the addiction is truly broken and shattered and conquered, the victim will keep going back. So definitely check out my video I'll put up at the end of this one. Check out my video on trauma bonding and how you can start to break that bond. And I'm covering 9 tips in that video that might help you. But coming back to the now, if someone is judging you, the best thing you can do is just accept that they don't understand. If they're a really true friend to you, they will be opening to learning more about this form of abuse, and they'll be willing to support you by their growing understanding. But if they're not, then you need to give these people a wide berth. Just avoid them or keep your contact with them very brief, because their judgment against you isn't going to help you. At this point, the only judgment that matters is your own, and you will break free when you are ready. When you make the decision that enough is enough, that you're not going to live like this anymore, that's when your journey to healing will really begin. And then when you are ready, I highly recommend that you get a therapist who understands what you're dealing with and can help you to really very quickly break that trauma bond and recover from it, and help you with a whole bunch of other things that usually are tangled up with why you become involved with a narcissist in the first place. So I'm going to put the video up at the end. I definitely want you to watch that. And if you're getting ready now for the next attempt to leave the narcissist in your life, this next video coming up will really help you to understand so much more about what you can do to start breaking the bond. Now, another question that I'm going to be asking that will help you to understand more about breaking the bonds to a narcissist is self-love the key to healing from narcissistic abuse? And it's a simple question. And the answer is really, really important. So I'm also going to be putting that video up. So check out the videos that come up next. Make sure you watch both of those, because they're really going to help you get a much broader understanding of yourself and why you're struggling and what you need to do to start healing. Okay. So I hope you found that helpful. Obviously, if you did, hit like, feel free to comment, and I will see you in the next video where we will talk about self-love and how self-love is the key to healing from narcissistic abuse. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you again soon in the next video. Bye for now.